You know who we have back right now?
Yeah, back in shape. Is he our editor-at-large?
Back in action, John Kingston. We've missed you the last couple of weeks, John. Welcome back to FreightWaves Now.
I've missed you too. I assure you, I would have rather been doing this than what I was doing, which was mostly nothing.
But hey, you're back. Things are going well. We're talking all about unemployment and employment numbers today. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on, what you've been seeing.
Well, Friday was the day that the there's a temptation to call it the unemployment report. Let's call it the employment report. Came out for June numbers, and it showed a pretty good growth in the trucking and transportation sector, about 6,400 jobs. Now, what they don't do is they don't break that down between, let's say, long haul over the road drivers, where we know we've got a squeeze, and people just, let's say, driving a truck around a small regional area, people who go home every night like a box truck. And Jason Miller, who's a logistics professor at Michigan State, the numbers that break down the long haul versus box truck type of thing come out about a month later, and they're a month lag. And he says the numbers that he's been seeing is that the growth are tending to be kind of in these local transportation truck drivers, and that's not really what the world needs. I mean, the world needs it now, but as we've talked about so many times, what we really need are over the road drivers. And so 6,400 is a good number. It's the biggest number since like August and September of last year. But of course, that was coming off of a very depressed number following the pandemic. So that's not a good comparison. So 6,400 jobs in 1 month, skipping the pandemic is a very good number. We'll have to see whether it's is it going into over the road truck drivers, or is it just going kind of local, which doesn't really help our market. I'm glad they have jobs, and I'm glad those jobs are being filled, but we know what we need out there.
Yeah, it would.
The other thing that I found
go ahead.
The other thing, let me say, the other thing that I found interesting is that the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, does a PPI, a producer price index, and I don't have the numbers right at the top of my head, but I do. So the producer price index for truck transportation rose to 164.2. That's up from 158 just a month earlier. That's kind of like an all-in cost. It's not just the cost of a driver, and it just shows that the cost of moving freight by truck is just soaring. I mean, that is far more than any kind of PPI number for the economy as a whole. So that was the number that I thought was really interesting.
It is interesting. It's a inflationary pressure, I would imagine, in many cases, in most cases, right? You've got rates going up, you've got fuel, and you've got the cost of a driver. Adding 6,400 jobs, those are actually employed. Are those drivers specifically, or does it break it down that way? I know some of the times when we look at this,
not yet. Those are all jobs in the truck transportation.
All jobs. So it could be back office type of things, right? But we're assuming the most.
Yeah,
of that
but I think when you look at the breakdown, when it does come a month later, they're hiring drivers.
Yeah. And I would tend to agree with you. It's probably more the shorter, the home every night type of thing, which we need those just as much as we need the long haul. But certainly the long haul, the pressure to try and get drivers into those is much greater than the shorter hauls. Yeah, less desirable.
There's another number. There's another number I wanted to mention because I thought it was interesting. It's the number of people working on the rails. Uh-huh. And as we know, the rail industry has all adopted precision railroading, and precision railroading is very much devoted to the idea of cutting bodies and working in a different way. That number has been kind of going down steadily. It's the drop over the last, let's say, 6 years is enormous, but they seem to stabilize now. From a year ago, they're down about 700 jobs from a year ago. There's 144,000. It's in that number. So I do wonder whether the whole precision railroading changeover and implementation has kind of done what it wanted to do to get rid of a lot of workers on the railroads, and maybe that's stabilizing. So that I thought was the other number that really caught my eye.
John, so we're starting to see this kind of slow rollback, and it's kind of getting to that cutoff point of those extended unemployment benefits and that extended government support as moving through the pandemic. Are you expecting there to be this sudden influx of workers coming back now that they're not receiving that extra cash, or is it going to be kind of this slow trickle of people living off the savings that they've built the last year and a half, and then slowly finding the need to get back into the labor market?
Well, I don't know it's going to be sudden. Let's remember, I think there's between 20 and 25 states that have already stopped those additional unemployment benefits. So it's not as if on September, whatever the date is, September 1st or whatever, that it's going to be extended unemployment benefits are going to cease in 50 states. A lot of those are already gone. So yes, I go back to a discussion I had, I think it was with Todd Amen a while back, who said that when the extended unemployment benefits came into being, he saw a 15% decline in applications to trucking companies in general. They handle a lot of the application process, and once that happened, he said that the drop was very obvious and very clear that it absolutely did reduce the number of people employing. So yeah, I would expect that this is going to boost it too. And I think I read a couple of stories that there was evidence of that in this latest report, not necessarily for truck, but just in general.
So, John, let's put some parameters around this change in driving in trucking jobs. So 6,400 were added. Is that a drop in the bucket? I mean, it's positive, right? We want to see those jobs being filled and employed. But does it make any significant difference at this point?
Well, you have to look at it in terms of other months. 6,400 jobs in a month is a good number. I mean, the data that they provide on their website goes back to 2011, and a 6,400 job increase in a month's time is a big number.
Okay. Excellent.
And so with that number, does that count people are anywhere in retention, or is it just like these 6,400 people put in an application, they said yes to getting the job, but it doesn't necessarily keep how long that they're staying, or is there like a limit on how long they have to stay before they're counted in that number?
No, these are modeled on much broader trends, and so like what they would maybe figure out is that, okay, there's like a million. I'm trying to remember the total number of jobs here that they count on. Let me see if I can find it at the top of my head. It's like 1.5 million, something like that. I mean, they will model it based on what information they have, and they'll say, okay, you know what, this industry destroyed 25,000 jobs this month, but this industry also added 31,000 new jobs. Hence, a swing of 6,000. That's the way they do it. They obviously can't count individual jobs. So, this is what labor economists do. They have information out there that allows them to model. It's not perfect, but they obviously always assume some destruction of jobs. And then the question is, if you assume X number of jobs destroyed, how many did you add? Was it more or was it less? And if it was more, how much more? In this case, it came down to 6,000 plus.
So what is it looking like in the future? Is there a positive thought process about this continuing, the 6,400? Are schools ramping back up and applications up, that type of thing?
Yeah, you got to figure every trucking company right now is doing absolutely everything it can. Sure. More money, sign-on bonuses, in-house training, everything they can do to retain. I think, my view is that we are entering a secular period. We are ending a 40-year bulge in available workers that was created by the baby boom. And, for a long time, American business has been able to benefit from that boom, and they've had the upper hand. I think that is ending. Like, I'm a member of that generation. I have friends from high school who have retired. I have friends from college who have retired. I'm having a very difficult time wrapping my head around that fact. But I can tell you that that generation that provided so much employment, so many employees, potential employees, that put businesses, really gave them the upper hand. Those days are over. They are ending, and they're going to get that ending is going to get more rapid. So, and I think anybody who's looked at this situation knows this. Yes, there's a lot of focus on the extended unemployment benefits, but I think that the long-term secular trend in terms of employer versus employee balance is taking such a gigantic shift that, what's going to happen with extended unemployment benefits is a blip.
Yep. John, give us a quick little snapshot. What are you working on right now that's coming out this week?
Well, coming out in the next hour or so is a wrap-up of what happened with OPEC and the non-OPEC group over the weekend. They failed to reach agreement on adding oil to the market, and surprisingly, oil prices have risen. Usually when OPEC ends its meeting in disarray, prices plunge because the assumption is there's going to be all this oil put on the market because OPEC doesn't have a deal. In this case, everybody expected OPEC to go in and bless another, let's say, 400, 500,000 barrels a day of production. They didn't do that because of a dispute with the United Arab Emirates. So prices are up. Not a lot, but it's notable that they're up when usually they fall when OPEC collapses into disarray. So I think right now that's an interesting story to watch. And that's going to be out in like the next hour.
Great. Excellent. We'll keep an eye out on that. You can find that, of course, on FreightWaves.com. John, thanks for joining us this morning. Go check out his stuff on FreightWaves.com, and you can also give him.
Yes. Good to see you, John, up and running around again. Thank you.